Happy autumn, everyone, and welcome officially to spooky season. We are doing something different this time around to honor said spooky season. Today, I will be reading some scary nightmares for you. Some are my own nightmares, and others are nightmares that people close to me have had. I will be reading all of them in the first person perspective, but will give them different titles. If you would like me to read your nightmares, your scary nightmares here on my channel, you can totally send them to me via my email, which I will be putting down in the description box. But without further ado, let's begin. June 10th, 2025. Bats. In my dream, I was laying on my bed, having been woken up by something. I somehow knew it was exactly 12 a.m. in the morning, but didn't question it. I was confused at what woke me up because I didn't see anything. So, in the dream, I shrugged it off and decided to go back to sleep. Just as I was about to close my eyes, I heard a fluttering sound and saw small lights reflecting from the mirror in the hallway. I lifted my head and realized that my door was open. Strange, as I remember closing it and locking it before going to bed. Slowly, the fluttering sound grew closer along with the lights, until finally they were at my door. At first, it looked like a shadow. Then I saw it. Bats. Tiny bats were slowly flying through my open door and into my room. They were all together in a group and were being followed by tiny bluish lights. They slowly passed by my bed and headed towards the window, where they tried to go through but couldn't. You see, my windows had screens on them to keep the bugs out, so they were covered, and the bats couldn't go through. The bats slowly turned around and began to head to my door again. That is, until a few of them noticed me. I saw as the main group exited my room, and a smaller group slowly made its way up to me. They passed over my body, the bluish lights shining and creating small shadows across my comforter. I tried to stay as still as possible, hoping they would think that I was sleeping and lose interest in me. Slowly, they made their way up to my head and started crawling up my hair. I could feel them pulling it with their claws as they crawled up. Just as the first one reached my head, it passed through into my head. I sat up and shook my head as fast and hard as I could, trying to get them off. The last thing I remember was a few more bats slipping inside my head, and I'm guessing into my brain before I woke up. Second story. August 24, 2024. Santa Clara the Vampire. The dream involved Saint Clare of Assisi. For context, she is a saint that people pray to for clarity of mind and opening roads. In my dream, I was laying on my bed, just relaxing before bedtime. My bedroom light was still on, and I had a clear view of the black chest that rested against my wall. On that chest, I had many things, including a statue of Saint Clare. I let my gaze fall on everything on top of the chest, knowing that I would have to clean and organize it soon, when the statue of Saint Clare came to life. She turned from a statue to a woman with her full nun robes. For some reason, I wasn't scared, and I didn't question it either. I thought she was here to help me. because I had just lost my job and wasn't mentally or emotionally well. I started talking to her and asked her questions excitedly. As we were talking, she moved closer to me. I don't remember what the conversation was about, but by the end of the dream, she was sitting on the side of my bed as I was starting to fall asleep. If I wanted to, I could have reached over and touched her, but something held me back. My eyelids began to feel heavy. For some reason, she wasn't talking anymore, but just staring without blinking. It was an intense stare, and I started to feel tingles up and down my spine. The initial excitement of having her in my room with me suddenly turned into a cold pit in my stomach. Just as I was about to ask if something was wrong, her teeth became yellow, sharp, and elongated. Her eyes widened, and her face also became elongated, like a vampire's. I instantly knew this wasn't the real Saint Clair of Assisi. Dread and fear took over me. I tried to move, but I was paralyzed. This Saint Clair impostor began to slowly crawl towards me. I knew she was going to hurt me, and I didn't want to die. I didn't want to be bound to her either, if she truly was a vampire spirit. I guess all of the emotions surging through me created enough energy that I was able to move, and I was able to grab her robe. I began to sing, Jesus is my pastor, I need for nothing, 3 times or so. Then I woke up. Third story, or third nightmare. April 11th, 2020. The power of 3 compels you and sets us free. In my dream, I was trying to cleanse and get rid of an evil entity in what looked like a brick building. Then the dream changed, and it was a person that I was cleansing. It changed again, and this time it was 3 people that I was cleansing. Throughout all of the cleansings, I kept repeating, the power of 3 compels thee. I realized it was a mix of the spell from the show The Charmed Ones that went, the power of 3 will set us free, and the phrase that some Christian priests seem to like to use a lot, which is the power of Christ compels you. The dream changed again, and this time I was in a large, very old mansion. I was with people I knew. We were in my room. I noticed that the room had a sort of abandoned, bare part to it that opened up and connected to nature, while then there was a furnished, clean part to it that connected to the rest of the house. I knew there was a guest of mine that I needed to help, but I kept getting distracted as my things kept getting lost in the grass and plants. I also kept getting distracted with this app in my phone that turned everything you connected to the phone into something else. At some point, the people in my room left and I was alone. Then I was in the foyer, and it was night. At first, I was alone. Then they suddenly appeared. Sickly looking people with red eyes. They had 18th century clothes on. Yet, I knew they weren't vampires. I had a feeling that I needed to exorcise them and turn them back into humans. They had red eyes but weren't vampires. As I looked around, it felt like I knew 2 of them personally. I focused on their faces and realized that one of them was my sister, but her hair color had changed. Instead of being a brunette like she was before, she was now a ginger. The other person I noticed was male, although I didn't remember where I knew him from. The energy of these people felt so heavy that it was starting to choke me. I began the cleansing ritual and started chanting, the power of 3 compels thee and will set us free. I went to each of them saying this, careful not to get killed or grabbed by them. Then I grabbed their arms and started moving in a circle and repeating the spell. As we were moving in a circle, I woke up. Story 4. April 4th, 2020. Stabbed in the back. In this dream, I found myself in a metal room. It was all white. There were no windows on the wall, no furniture, and only one door. I noticed the door was made of heavy metal, similar to those large doors that safes have, and I also noticed that it was bolted shut. Somehow I knew I was in a laboratory, one that did experiments at that, but I didn't know why I was in that room. I hunched over in the middle of the room. I remember that my clothes were dirty and torn. My hair was matted, oily, and wild, and my hands were bruised and bloody. I wasn't sure what was happening, but I knew I needed to find a way out. Before I could even lift my head and straighten my spine, I felt the first one. The first stab that pierced my back and splattered blood everywhere. My eyes widened and I opened my mouth in a silent gasp. After the first stab came the second, which suspended me in the air. Then a third stabbing came, then a fourth, a fifth, a seventh, and an eighth. My back arched more with every stabbing, so much so that I also felt myself arching my back in real life, on my bed as well. Which was a feat because I was sleeping face down during this dream. In the dream, though, I tried looking back to see what was stabbing me. Were they arrows or hooks attached to a cord that someone was using to pull me and lift me up? As I looked back, my heart stopped. Those weren't cords, they were fingers. The fingers of a monster that elongated and pierced my back. But these fingers weren't the only things piercing me. There were also butcher knives, huge butcher knives in my skin. The dream changed, and I saw myself walking into a corporate building with a friend. She worked there and she was late. I was accompanying her as I had the morning off. It was a very modern building with big windows and natural light. I remember that I checked my TikTok and saw a video made by her boss. We go in, wait a few minutes for security to clear us, and then I suddenly get kicked out of the building because they were having some sort of quote-unquote meeting. I felt uncomfortable about how they said this, and about how they smiled in a condescending and threatening way. For some reason, I suspected my friend's boss was a witch and felt that something was bad was about to happen. I tried to get to my friend to stop her and warn her, but I couldn't. I was being kept out by a force field, and magical spells were being hurled at me. Defeated, I looked up and saw my friend's boss in one of the top floors looking down at me through the window. When she noticed me, she laughed. A chill ran down my spine. Somehow I recognized that laugh. And for some reason, I also felt she was connected to the creature that stabbed me in the back. Was my friend's boss the one responsible for me being trapped in that room? Would they experiment on my friend as well? Before I could try to hurl attack spells at them, I woke up. And that is all of the nightmares that I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed these short but scary nightmares. If you have nightmares of your own that you would like to send me so I could read them in a video, I would definitely appreciate it. I will have my email down below. Thank you so much for listening, watching, liking, subscribing. And sharing, it helps me so much. It helps me with the algorithm and to get my videos known and out there. Thank you so much. I have another video, another scary video for you for later in the month, so look out for that. All of my videos this month will be related to spooky things, so you can look out for that as well, whether it is a frequency video or a song video. It would be related to spooky season. So I will see you on my next video, and thank you so much. Until next time, angelic blessings. Bye.